Hi everyone, Gill here with a Monday match analysis, technical breakdown, middle of the week Australian Open going on. I've looked all over YouTube and I haven't found a single breakdown of Rafa's new serve and what exactly is going on there. Now, I'm more of a tactician than a technician myself, but I still think I can do a pretty decent job, and we can talk about some things in regards to Rafa Nadal's serve. I know a few of you probably want my thoughts on the Nadal De Minaur match that happened last night. That's going to be another video that I'm going to do right after I'm done with this one. But for this video, I'm just going to talk about Rafa's serve, and that's the issue at hand here. Before I get started with Rafa specifically, just so we can get a little bit familiar with the terminology, I normally don't talk technique on this channel or in as much detail as I'm about to. So let's just get familiar with what I'm talking about when it comes to the serve. I think in general, the serve can be broken down into five parts. I'm going to look at Andy Roddick's serve as an example. This is the racket hold. Then you have the trophy position. Then you have the racket drop. So this is not contact point, but you'll see his if you just look at the positioning of the racket, some people also call this the back scratcher. Scratch your back with your racket. Every single serve has this. It's very important. Now you have the contact, and then you have the follow through. So, quite simply, I think you can break the serve kind of into those 5 parts. And if you look at why serves look differently, you can normally pinpoint, if you break down the serves into those 5 parts, you can normally pinpoint, well, for example, he lowered his racket hold to down here, he used to be up here. Something like that, right? That wouldn't matter much, but for example, you can go kind of frame by frame. Those 5 frames will normally tell the story. Now, you'll see one exception to this in this video. So one more time, you have the racket hold, you have trophy position, then you have the racket drop, your legs are extending, you're moving up to the ball, your toss hand is dropping, contact point, and you have your follow through. Okay, let's look at Rafa's serve. What I have is video from the Aussie Open this year. This is in warm-ups, full disclosure, but he does his regular motion in warm-ups, which some players don't, by the way. Rafa does. And the other footage is from practice last year during clay court season. So here's our racket hold from this year, 2019. And here's our racket hold from 2018. Possible subtle differences, but nothing much. You could say it's lower in 2019. That might be a product of exactly where I froze it. But I do want to point out that I would say the lower half of his body is a little bit less flexed. His legs are less flexed, a little bit more relaxed. You see how he's a bit more upright in his lower body? This is going to be a common theme here. Now, I told you there was going to be an exception. My exception is I believe the biggest difference in Rafa's serve right now in 2019 from 2018, I think it's actually the transition between the racket hold and the trophy position. That transition is quite simply the ball toss. But I think you can't really tell what is so different in my observation about Rafa's serve unless you examine this transition. So I'm going to add a sixth position, and I'm going to call it the ball toss. So there you see the difference one more time between the racket holds. I just think a little bit more upright, leaning back a little bit less, I'd say, in a more relaxed position overall. So here's the ball toss. His right foot, his right heel is off the ground. He's going to take kind of a quasi step forward. It's not really a step, but he's obviously going to plant that right foot. Right now, you can see his weight distribution is on his left leg, but his left leg is pretty straight. It's pretty relaxed. It's not flexed. Much more flexed here if you look at his left leg. You see the difference here? And it's a little bit subtle. And now look at the right leg also. There's weight on it. His whole lower body, there's weight on his lower body in last year's serve. He's already flexing his leg muscles. He's already bending down, leaning back, and starting to kind of sit back in his motion. He's already beginning the process of bending his knees. This is important. We're going to get to why. You can see it even better in this. Now, this is even a year further back. This is all the way to 2017, but I use this because I want to show you a better angle. Nadal is just tossing the ball, but you see how his legs are already flexed? He's almost sitting, almost like he's about to sit in a chair. He's bending his knees. Now, here's why this is important. If I told you to jump as high as you can, if I said jump as high as you can, you wouldn't squat for 3 seconds and then jump. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't jump as high. It wouldn't be as explosive. It wouldn't be natural. If I told you to jump as high as you could, you would kind of in rhythm go down for a split second. You would only be flexed fully for a split second before you exploded off the ground. And Rafa's old serve, he seemed to kind of have a lot of pressure on his lower body just as he was tossing the ball. Your knees really shouldn't be bent yet when you're tossing the ball. So overall, I think that Rafa will get much more out of his legs. To me, this looks just forget all the technical jargon. To me, this looks like such a better position of leverage than this. Do you guys kind of see that? And I also believe he's already sliding up. Oh, well, this is different. I think in this one, though, he's already sliding up his left leg. And I think in this one, it's staying. They talked about the fluidity of his service motion, and fluidity has everything to do with timing. So, for example, if you look at like some players, most players, here's about fluidity and timing. Most players bring their toss hand and their racket hand up at the same time. Some players toss it up first, bring this up late, and then go. And then some players, like Nicolas Jarry is one, who lost in the first round. Some players start here, then they toss it, and then they go. The most fluid serves, they'll go up at the same time. Rafa has his timing is a little bit off there. Sometimes it's okay, but timing, it has everything to do with a fluid motion. It's all timing. And Rafa is, I think, sliding his left foot forward a little bit later now, and it's resulting in a little bit more fluidity. Okay. Now this will start to go faster because I don't see as many differences basically after the toss. Okay, so next is the trophy position. Here's the 2019 trophy. You see how he's sliding his left leg up because he's got a pinpoint serve. He's doing the same kind of thing here. It's pretty similar, honestly. The angle is slightly different. Whoops, wrong way. The angle's slightly different, so it might look like in 2018 his racket is positioned differently, but I think that's more really just the angle. So I think that's pretty similar. And then now let's go to the racket drop. I actually couldn't time the racket drop in the Australian Open footage because I couldn't get it in slow motion because I wasn't taking it off YouTube. Here's the contact, and here's the contact. And as you can see, it's pretty similar, right? And then here's the follow through and the follow through. I believe that if you, and this is, we're talking about centimeters here, but I believe that if you averaged out where Rafa lands this year with his right foot, it will be a little bit further into the court this year. So one of the things that you want on your follow through is you want to land on one leg always. If you're a righty, you land on your left leg. If you're a lefty, you land on your right leg. And I believe where Nadal's right leg lands is now, on average, further into the court. I also believe his ball toss, on average, is further into the court. I also think, and this is something that I could be wrong about because it's very hard to tell, I also think the angle of his toss hand is a little bit different. There's not that much variation. I'm going to move over so I don't hit my mic. But the variation with the angle of your toss hand, we're talking about a difference between tossing it from here and tossing it from here. But I think it's a lot easier to put your ball toss out in front. It's hard for me to do this because I'm a righty, not a lefty. It's a lot harder to put your ball toss out in front the further you are this way. The further I am this way, the harder it's going to be for me to put my ball toss out in front so I can go out into the court that way. And I think that Rafa has also adjusted exactly the angle of his ball toss, and I think that's an effort to put his ball toss more out in front, to jump further into the court. I want to make 2 more points. I think this is also very mental. The first point I'll make comes straight out of Rafa's mouth. I never would have known this. I never would have guessed this until I heard Rafa say it. Rafa said, I need to feel alive. I need to feel alive. And at first I'm like, what the heck is he talking about? I need to feel alive. Because people ask him, hey, Rafa, you like this new serve? How's it going? And Rafa has said twice now, I'm happy with it. I need to feel alive. I need to work on my game. Tennis is not forever. I need to get better. Blah, blah, blah. Right? What he means by this is what keeps him excited about tennis, what keeps him going, what keeps him engaged is making these adjustments to his game. That's what he finds. That's where he gets the internal challenge of playing this sport and getting better. Rafa still has that drive, and that's what makes him great. So I think that's a very important point, to try to tinker with things. What he's saying is, I feel alive when I'm tinkering with my game. That's a new challenge. That's exciting to me. That's a reason to get on the practice court. And that's a window into Rafa's mind. So that's another benefit of it. The second part of this is Rafa is hitting it a little bit more flat and a little bit faster. What his coaches were saying, this is from Carlos Moya. Carlos Moya was saying the ball was losing too much speed when it hit the court. The translation for that is pretty much the ball wasn't skidding off the court. The ball either skids off the court, a lot of the best serves, the ball skids right off the court, or it bounces off the court. And when it bounces, when it doesn't have that nice skid, that means it lost a lot of speed when it hit the court. And the best way to get a ball to skid, besides hitting slice, backspin, which you can't do on a serve, unless you're Bernard Tomic or Gael Monfils. Best way to do that is flatten it out a little bit. Your kick serve, it's going to bounce. It's supposed to bounce. Your slice serve it can skid off the court, but it's a little bit more likely that you're going to get that nice skid when you flatten it out a little bit. It's also 100% gonna dial up the MPH a little bit. And that's very much so mental. Those are small adjustments about the pronation of your wrist and what part of the ball you're hitting, at slight adjustments in timing. But you don't really, unless you have something wrong with your technique, you should be able to use this more or less this similar technique and hit all 3 serves: your kick serve, your slice serve, your flat serve. So a lot of people were telling me last year, why doesn't Rafa just hit his serve flatter? Why doesn't he just do it and hit it faster? Because that's a big mental adjustment. If you're not on the practice court hitting flat serves, and a lot of flat serves, and when I mean flat serves, I don't mean flatter serves, because Rafa had a flat serve last year. It sliced a lot. That was his flat serve. It sliced a lot. The way you get better at hitting the serve flatter is you spend a lot of time on the practice court working on that flat serve to a point where mentally you're confident in using it in a match. Hitting a flat serve it's kind of a scary thing sometimes. When you're used to hitting serves with more kick and more slice, it's a big adjustment to start hitting it flat. And a lot of that adjustment is mental. A lot of that is on the practice court. Before I sign off here, I want to say, first of all, this is absolutely massive for Rafa because it's working. I mean, holy God. His first serve percentage against Alex De Minaur was 82%. His miles per hour is up, from what I've seen, on his first serve, like an average of 3-4 miles per hour, which is unbelievable. So Rafa already early in the season has seemingly succeeded in making an adjustment that's going to give him a more consistent weapon. And it's a specific weapon that, in my opinion, prevented him from winning Wimbledon. So this is major. Hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.